Hey y'all, and welcome back to another video of My Creative Life with Kelsey, where we read books and we make art. Today we are doing our Black horror witch recommendations. I am really excited. At this point, we are now a week into the readathon, and I just love seeing how many people are coming back and they're like, absolutely love this book. This was a great novel. Would have never actually read this novel had you not said it was a recommendation or had I not gone looking for it. It's been just really great seeing everyone participate in the I Love Black Horror Readathon. Tonight we're doing a watch party in the Discord, which we'll be doing weekly watch parties within the Discord throughout the month, and I plan on even doing some more on-theme watch parties in the Discord throughout like other heritage months, which is really exciting because it's just been fun. It's been fun all over. It's been fun. I'm having a lot of fun making all of the posts and the content and the recommendations, and it's just been insane, the support that has flooded in with everything. A lot of like what I've put out before was recorded before the readathon actually started, and I was just being extremely hopeful in my positivity, and now to kind of see it come to fruition, to see how many people are participating, just finding new books has been so exciting. I cannot say that enough. So thank you to everybody who's participating right now. Thank you for all the love on my last video with all the recommendations. We are continuing on with a theme that personally is my favorite, but it's also the least developed, unfortunately. And that's witches, and witches within a more horror context. So let's get into the intro and let's get into these recommendations. So while I was talking in the intro, I was mentioning how this is one of my favorite themes, but it's also one of the least developed ones out of the entire readathon when it came to finding both movies as well as recommendations book-wise, which I feel like has a lot of political undertaking, right? Like, you're talking about Black women, Black people having power, which is so connected to our ancestorship, but how is it not like overtly developed within shows or movie plots or you know, book plots and everything? I've been frustrated with this concept for a while now. When I started the readathon last year and really started focusing in, I got so frustrated, and I'm still frustrated, but we're moving. There's some on this list that I am so excited to tell you about. If you're following me over on Instagram, later on in the upcoming week, you will be seeing some more recommendations. Like, honestly, this is a very strong list. Last year I was pulling at straws, and I mean, in doing so, I did find one of my favorite books of last year, and this isn't a part of officially this list, but I'm going to share it anyways. That was The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings. The readathon helped me find this beautiful, beautiful book where I felt so seen as a Black woman, as a bisexual Black woman, in the conversations that we're having with Jo and her father, in regards to misogyny and how that call can come within inside the house. The idea of not being prepared to be a mother and abandoning that station for her mom in order to feel free in a world that simply denotes any woman who does feel free a witch, point blank period. This was such a moving novel. Now, I didn't officially put it on. I'm mentioning it because of the concept of Black women and witches and where it's done extremely, extremely well. But I would not say that this is a horror. I think that it was put in the horror section because it's extremely witch. It extremely talks about that. There's moments where blood falls from the sky and conversations around curses, and it's very dystopian. And I think that because of that, they put it in the horror category because they knew that some of us horror lovers who are a little softer in the heart would love this book, and that's why I'm mentioning it. But it's an unofficial mention, and it's mainly because this book made me cry. It was my favorite book of last year by far. I've yet to read something that has made me feel how this book made me feel. And the next book that will ever be my absolute favorite, or, you know, it's top 5, it's got to make me feel like this. If it doesn't make me feel like this, it's not my top. So I do recommend you pick it up. It's not officially, like I said, I keep on saying it, but it's because I don't want anybody going, that's not a horror. It's really lit fic, and it is. It's dystopian ish, weird girl lit fic and everything, but it's really really amazing, and I think it's an amazing book to be reading, especially during our times that we're going through right now. So yeah, here's the official start of my recommendations. For our first witch recommendation, I chose Curdle Creek by Yvonne Battle Felton. This one came out, I believe, last year. Yes, October of last year. And it's one of the ones that I felt most like, oh, this is magic. It's in regards to curses and everything. And it was still horrific. Some of these, I was really pushing it. I was like, oh, okay. You know, she's exorcising a demon. That's magic. You know, things like that. But this one definitely gave horror to me, and I plan on reading it at some point this year. I mean, there's so many things that are constantly on my TBR, but I do want to read this one because it does sound really interesting. I'm going to read the synopsis. For fans of The Lottery and The Hunger Games, this novel set in a small town with a sinister tradition is chilling in the best possible way. Welcome to Curdle Creek, a place just dying to make you feel at home. Osira, a 45-year-old widow, is an obedient follower of the strict conventions of Curdle Creek, an all-black town in rural America stuck in the past and governed by a tradition of ominous rituals. Osira is considered blessed, but her luck changes when her children flee, and she comes second to last in the running of the widows, and her father flees with his name is called in the annual moving on ceremony. Forced into a test of allegiance, Osira finds herself transported back in time, then into another realm where she must answer for crimes committed by Curdle Creek. Exile forces her to jump realms again, landing Osira even further away from home in rural England. Safe as long as she sticks to the rules, she quickly learns there are consequences for every kindness. Each jump could lead Osira anywhere but back home. Curdle Creek is a unique, invented novel exploring themes of home, belonging, motherhood, and what we inherit from society. This American Gothic offers a mashup of the surreal and literary horror that will appeal to the fans of Ring Shout, The Underground Railroad, and Lovecraft Country. Yvonne Battle Felton's fever dream of a tale is enthralling, layered, and quite unlike anything else. So, it feels very much like a retelling or very inspired by Octavia Butler's Kindred. The whole going back and forth through time, paying for crimes somebody else did, an ancestor did, and then also with the all-black town and rural America stuck in the past. It's very culty. And for that, it's kind of giving Sorrowland by River Solomon. So that's why I'm kind of interested in it, because you're kind of combining a lot of plots that I usually would love. The reason why I have this kind of in the witch category is because at first I feel like she's yanked through time and it's by an accident, but based on the plot, it sounds like she becomes a time traveler type of thing. And to me, that's magic. That's magic. I don't really know what else to kind of place that under as far as, like, you know, horror themes are concerned. For me, that feels like it's a time witch type of thing. And that was the basis on how I included that in here. I'm really excited to read this because I do love the idea of traveling through time, especially as a Black woman, because that could be extremely unsafe for many different reasons, and also through these different spaces. I, for one, have started Kindred, couldn't finish it because honestly it was too scary for me, in the sense of you can write about plenty of things. You can write about slashers, and you can write about, you know, people whose faces are melting off in these books, and all of that. As soon as we get into historical fiction territory, it gets terrifying because those things are real. Those things actually happened. For me personally, when I read it. So when I read Kindred, it was very traumatizing reading some of those pieces, and I had to put it down. It was just far too much for me. Everybody has their boundaries, and for me it was Kindred. I do want to come back to it though, because I know that it's something that I'm going to end up loving for the reason that it gave me such a averse feeling. And I feel like this one is going to do the same, just based off of the plot. So, very excited to read that at some point this year. But based off of the plot, I also am not understanding the Hunger Games thing. I really hate when publishers do for fans of this meets this. And it almost always is incorrect. They're just trying to use tag words so that big people, like big audiences of those different films or books can go, oh, I'll pick that up then. And more time, it's like using Get Out for every single black horror that comes out. It's just like, sometimes it's not even associated black horror to like Get Out whatsoever. So I don't know. Based off of that synopsis, I don't feel like there's Hunger Games other than like the choosing of people to be in these rituals. But other than that, I don't really see it. I don't know, but I am excited to read this one. The next one on the list is Bad Witch Burning by Jessica Lewis. I've heard a lot of different things about this one, and I've been on the fence personally about reading it because of the fact that a lot of people have said they either really loved it or that it was too young for them. And I'm kind of like, oh, that seems like too much of a, I'm like looking up the synopsis. It seems like too much of a chance to read this book, but it does deal with very adult themes, and she is absolutely a witch. So it's got an extremely high rating on Goodreads. It's got a 4-star, which, you know, on Goodreads, most things are sitting in the 3 and some change territory. So that for it to be sitting at 4-star and have a good amount of ratings and reviews on it, I know that it's something good. I just feel like I'm afraid it's going to be too much of a YA. And I hate that for me because I've read books that are YA, like The Weight of Blood is a YA novel. Absolutely loved it. But I think that I have to allot myself a certain amount a year, or else you can get sucked into the YA real easy. Real easy. So I'm going to read the synopsis, but honestly, this plot sounds really, really great. Cottrell can talk to the dead, and she wishes it made more money. She's been able to support her unemployed mother and mom's deadbeat boyfriend of the week so far, but it isn't enough. Money's still tight, and to complicate things, Cottrell has started to draw attention. Not from this world, from beyond, and it comes with a warning. Stop, or there will be consequences. Cottrell is willing to call the ghost on their bluff, but she has no choice. What do ghosts know of having sleep for dinner? But when her next summoning accidentally raises someone from the dead, Cottrell realizes that a live body is worth a lot more than a dead apparition. And warning or not, she has no intention of letting this lucrative new business go. Only magic isn't free, and dark forces are coming to collect. Now Cottrell faces a choice: resign herself to poverty or confront the darkness before it's too late. I like the synopsis and the idea that this girl is sitting here trying to put food on the table because she is a witch. And it kind of goes back to something that I've talked a lot about in regards to Rochelle from The Craft, that Rochelle sat there and she had all this magic, and her wish was not, you know, Bonnie wanted her outside to be prettier, and Sarah wanted a guy to like her. Stupid reason, Sarah, but okay. We get it. Your self-worth was low. The Dochi line just like repeated in my mind just now. Love that.
Then my self-worth set an all-time low.
And then Nancy wanted to be all powerful because of her situation of being poor. Rochelle just wanted to basically sit there and have the white girl at school pay for just being racist to her. Which is very real, you know. It's unfortunate that it's just kind of like you have all the power in the world and you're going to use it for that. It's not like this very selfish reason in the grand scheme of like what the other 3 were using it for, but in the sense of like, hey, actually somebody hurt me, and it was for something that I couldn't even help. I wasn't an evil person to them. They were this, and actually I would like some payback for that. Which is still not great. It's revenge. But it's, in the grand scheme of the other 3, it's kind of like, interesting. I know that they rewrote that character because they didn't expect Rochelle to be black, and then Rachel True ended up being casted because she was just so amazing, and they were like, no, we gotta do something with this. And I feel that way in regards to Cottrell's backstory. She's just like, I'm using magic, and what could you use it for? Well, I need to put food on the table for my mother because apparently she can't. And it's talking about like these conversations that I guess are similar to Nancy, but in a different conversation of power struggle. She literally is just doing it for a job, not to be all powerful, all encompassing. And when the ghosts are like, yo, you need to chill, she's like, so what you want me to do? It's very much like, you know, I'm a child, I don't have discernment. What else do you want me to do? I've got this, you know, gift. And I enjoy that idea personally because I feel like it talks about more than just her having magical powers and, you know, this class struggle and this conversation of, you know, a very real thing that I mean, I've experienced that, you know, wanting to go to school and you're like, okay, well, you got to figure out how to make the money to go to school because the grown-ups in your life don't have the money to send you to some college or send you halfway across the states or whatever the case is. I'm really interested in this one. It's on my TBR. But like I said, I think that I've pushed it back because it's YA, not because of the synopsis, but or what the book is, but because of it being YA. And I'm just kind of like, am I gonna love it or am I gonna feel like the characters are written young? I really hope that by the time I end up reading it, it's something more similar to what Tiffany Jackson did with her Carrie retelling and The Weight of Blood, where it just didn't feel like young. It felt like a very great story and was only YA in the sense that it was just not maybe as gory as it could have been. Like that was the only reason why. I'm saying that where she also blew plenty of people up. And also, personally, I think The Weight of Blood is a witch story. Telekinesis, to me, is a superpower, is magic, and therefore, I think that it's a witch. But also, y'all know that I have a very loose understanding of words and how we use them and everything. So, that's just an extra little bit. Our next recommendation is House of Whispers, and it's a series by Nalo Hopkinson. So Nalo Hopkinson is trailblazer, was basically writing next to Tananarive during a time when there was no black writers writing in the horror space or the speculative fiction space that, you know, it wasn't, oh, we're reading black speculative fiction. Octavia Butler and Toni Morrison in some of her works. And that was it for an extremely long time. And then during the 90s, Tananarive and Nalo Hopkinson sat there and they were, you know, fuck that. We're gonna write horrific stories and everything. I feel like last year I didn't mention Nalo Hopkinson as much as I should have. I think I mentioned one of her books, but I feel like a lot of people know about Tananarive, but they don't know enough about her contemporaries. And that's unfortunate because while she was trailblazing, women were holding it down those first couple of years. So I wanted to do House of Whispers. It is a series. It is a series that is co-written with somebody who should not be named because they're gross. However, I do feel like the stories themselves that were headed by Nalo Hopkinson still deserve some shine because these synopsises really have to do with a witch who is in the voodoo tradition. And unfortunately, there is hardly much of anything that I could find that really had a strong plot that worked into that and really wrote from that perspective. So here's the synopsis. This is book 1 out of the 4 books expanding the universe that was the Sandman universe. Welcome to the house of Dahomey, the houseboat of Izuli Frida, where the souls of voodoo followers go when they sleep. But even the fearsome Izuli is powerless when her dream river turns sour, tossing her house from one realm and into another. The dreaming. From her bayou, Izuli scries upon the mortal realm and sees 4 human girls open a mysterious and magical journal filled with whispers and rumors that, if they spread, could cause a pandemic unlike any the earth has ever seen. With the power to release Shakpana, the Loa Lord of the Loa Lord of infectious disease, and nephew to Izuli, who is currently banned from the human plane. Meanwhile, a mysterious infection doctors are calling Kutra's delusion spreads, trapping countless souls in the dreaming and leaving their physical bodies yearning for death. That's amazing! That is such an amazing plot that really talks about actual gods from lore. I mean, the Loa god, you know, this is all voodoo. This is talking about dream rivers and everything. I really, really love this book, and when I found this, it immediately went on my TBR. I want to read this during October sometime, but I just think that it is so much fun, and it's a part of a series, and I'm not a series reader, but I would love to read whatever has these characters in it. whatever she's going to write, because I was pulled in by that synopsis alone. I feel like this is what we need more of within the Black horror speculative fiction scope. I know that we have a lot within fantasy, but a lot of it is not based in a lot of ancestor-based magic or any of that. I think when I read Vinco, it was very great. Like the plot of it and where they were pulling their magic from was amazing because it was very ancestral. It was very much identity-based. And I feel like there's been this whole washover of what magic is and what it means to have magic and what it means to be a witch. And we need to bring that back. We need to take back the narrative of what it is to be a Black witch. And I really, really love that with House of Whispers. I can't wait to read this. Also, again, wonderful, beautiful cover. And this one was published in 2019. So not too long ago, although Naylor Hopkinson has been writing since the 90s and writing tons of books, tons and tons and tons of books. So you can go check that out. The next one that I want to talk about is just released, literally just released, and that's Listen to Your Sister by Nina Veil. I think I said her name right, but everyone's talking about this one. Absolutely everyone's talking about this one, and I heard mixed things about it at first. I think that a lot of people couldn't get a lot from the plot, like the synopsis of the plot, and so they kind of started going, well, what is it? And now I'm hearing quite a bit of people reading it. A lot of people are into it. A lot of people really enjoy how descriptive it is. And also the conversations around sibling relationships, because I feel like we don't get that enough in horror. And I don't feel like we get that enough in literature, period, these conversations about siblings. And especially because she's a sister trying to protect her two brothers. So I'm going to read the synopsis for this one. This one came out on the 4th of this month, so it's fresh out. It's, as I'm making this, it's basically been out for like 3 days or so. I did not add it to my TBR only because I had so many other amazing books to read, and I was like, okay, I'll read it. I'll get to it in just a moment. Just give me maybe a couple more months. But it sounds really great, and I can't wait to read it. Listen to Your Sister is a laugh-out-loud, deeply terrifying, and big-hearted speculative horror novel from electrifying debut talent Nina Veil. 25-year-old Calla Williams is struggling since becoming guardian to her brother, Jamie. Calla is overwhelmed and tired of being the one who makes sacrifices to keep the family together. Jamie, full of good-natured 16-year-old recklessness, is usually off fighting for what matters to him or getting into mischief, often at the same time. Dre, their brother, promised he would help raise Jamie, but now the ink is dry on the paperwork, and in classic middle child fashion, he's off doing his own thing. And through it all, the nightmare never stops haunting the nightmare. So that's in capital letters, sorry. You're not reading it. The nightmare never stops haunting Calla. Reoccurring images of her brothers dying that she is powerless to stop. When Jamie's actions at a protest spiral out of control, the siblings must go on the run, taking refuge in a remote cabin that looks like it belongs on a slasher movie poster rather than an Airbnb. The siblings now face a new threat where their lives and reality hang in the balance. Their sister always warned them about her nightmares. They really should have listened. I'm excited to read this because, again, you don't get a lot from that. You get a lot of, like, who the characters are, but you're not getting a lot about what the horror is. I kind of read that, and I feel like she's, because of the nightmares and everything, she's more of an oracle, and I put that under witch. That's why I've included it in this list. But also, I could be completely off base. I mean, that's the thing with recommending books that are on your TBR as suggestions, and you're kind of taking it from the synopsis. I mean, this could be like a haunting. This could be a curse. I mean, again, curses are witches and everything. But I'm really excited to read this because I feel like I've heard so many people, and luckily people have not ruined it. But a lot of people have said the ending of it feels very, is what really puts it over the edge. And I've told people that in regards to reading Jackal by Erin E. Adams, is that you'll read the book and you're like, okay, this is good. And it's the ending that really pushes you over the edge. So I really can't wait to read this one. It just came out. So if you're looking for something that's a new release, here it is. You've got it. Last but not least, I'm also including another release that's coming in April. So something to look forward to. I think that I usually like reserve a lot of my new release stuff for my Instagram page, and I'm adding a couple of new releases here. So you're getting a good mix of things. And that's One of You by Erin E. Adams. I just mentioned Erin E. Adams for talking about Jackal, which was a really great read that I read during the readathon last year. This one has more to do about a curse and like doppelgangers on a family and everything. I'm really excited to read this, and this comes out April 1st of this year. So I'm going to read the synopsis, but I cannot say enough how excited I am to read this one. It just seems very haunted home, but again in this very, I don't know, like just very cursed witch, evil witch type of way. A mysterious outsider torments two Haitian American sisters, forcing them to confront dark secrets from their family's past in this powerful psychological suspense novel from the acclaimed author of Jackal. What would you sacrifice to become American? Everything about the Beauclair family seems normal, almost perfect even. They immigrated to New York City from Haiti years ago, looking for their own piece of America's promised riches. They go to church, they're good neighbors, and their two daughters, Judith and Beatrice, have typical sibling rivalries that keep things interesting. But beneath this polished exterior, something is slightly off. There's malice waiting, wanting to reveal itself. When their mother unexpectedly dies, Judith and Bee are overwhelmed by a mob of relatives, friends, and church ladies. Amidst taking care of the funeral, they meet Libite, who claims to be a close friend of their mother's. Bee welcomes her, but Judith is immediately suspicious. Their mother never mentioned Libite, and yet she seems to know everything about them. After a series of unsettling events, a disfigured doll appearing in their attic, childhood photos of Bee vanishing, and a mysterious illness suddenly afflicting their father, Judith and Bee are forced to dive into a hidden world of mythos and question Libite's role in it all. What they learn could threaten the bedrock of the entire Beauclair family and reveal rot that goes deeper than the roots that they first made in the place. It sounds amazing. It sounds so good. Now, when I read that, I kind of read like Libite kind of being this witch, especially with it being from Haiti. That's the big thing that made me go, okay, this feels like this is voodoo, because voodoo came from Haiti. It's a Haitian tradition. So I feel like this has a lot to do with that. I feel like there may be souls that were sold in order for them to be where they are now, in order for them to have the luck that they had in their family. I don't know, but it sounds so good. And if it's anything like Erin E. Adams, so much tradition and so much visual intrigue is going to be inside of this, and it's probably not going to be until probably the end that that everything starts to unravel and like show itself. I know in Jackal, I spent a good portion of the book trying to figure it all out. And it turns out that I was completely wrong. There was no way I could ever have figured everything out. And I loved it because it still wasn't a cheat. It was just, you just be here for the ride. So I cannot wait to read One of You. It's coming out again in April, and that's one that I think that I'm gonna have to. I don't have anything planned in April. Like April isn't like a heritage month or anything, so I'm kind of like, okay, that's the one I'll read. I'll read that in April. So I'm really excited for it, and it just seems so good. Again, like I said, this list has been, it's really kind of all over the place. Like I gave you something that was more like time traveling, superpowers, speculative. There was something else that was like YA horror in regards to like a witch. There was another that was more like, it was slightly fantasy but still extremely traditional witch and magic. And then Listen to Your Sister was something that felt very like loose as far as the idea of a witch and all of that. And then One of You felt, again, going back to that more modern tradition though, instead of how House of Whispers was very rooted in lore and all of that. So the witch concept is something that is extremely flexible, and I love that. But I just really cannot say enough that if you are a writer or a publisher, anybody watching this video, we need more Rochelle-based witches. What I mean by that is like they're, normal, everyday, not rooted in fantasy, not, it's a whole new world that they created, but this modern literary fiction type of horror that is in regards to being a witch, being a black witch, doing magic in a very, because there's so many Coven witch books. I mean, Slewfoot still has the community by the neck, right? Where is our black Slewfoot? I would love that. Like, what is the opposite of that in another tradition? Because I think I really like the idea of Slewfoot. However, as I've mentioned before, it was very puritanical, and that's where they lost me, because I was just like, I'm not making the connection because of my political affiliations with the idea of puritanical community. And so, like, what's the opposite of that? Where's that book? I would love to see that book. I do have some that I have found that are kind of in that space, or I'm hoping they are. Again, a lot of these are for my TBR and suggestions and things that I'm really excited to get to reading this year. But you'll have to follow me on Instagram to kind of see them instead of me mentioning them here. I know that was a bit of a tease, but I'm really, really excited to kind of make some more of these recommendations. And I'm also really excited to get into Witch Week, y'all. Like, all of our collaborators have recommendations. They're not all witch, like, you know, recommendations, but they're really solid recommendations. Of course, we're doing our watch party later on this week. Our witch black horror fact will be coming up this week as well. I'll be having all of my rest of my recommendations over there. It's been so great and so much fun, and again, I just really can't say that enough. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you at least have 2 books that you're looking forward to you know, releasing. Well, I guess one, because one of them is already out. So I hope that you found some books that you're excited to read or add to your TBR. Let me know down below if you're participating in the readathon. I'd be really excited to know how it's going for you so far one weekend. Me personally, I am planning tomorrow, as I'm recording this, I don't have anything planned, and I plan to do a 24-hour read and vlog, which that'll come out at some point. Who knows when. It'll be March probably when it comes out. But to get through some short stories and novellas that I have, which I'm very excited for. I'm very, very excited. I'm reading Womb City right now, and it's amazing. Don't get me wrong, but it's very fantasy in the conversation of, like, world building. Like, fantasy and sci-fi readers, y'all have attention spans, because the book and the world building is so thick. The plot and the message and this world that they've built is amazing. But also my attention span is going, okay, we got it. Let's speed it up. Let's speed it up. Let's speed it up. So I'm halfway through the book right now. It's taken me much longer than usual to read it. And that's not because of the book and how good it is. It really has to do, honestly, because they did too good of a job with building this world. And it's very interesting, but for me, I need to pay attention in order to really get immersed in it how they want me to. And I think that's also why I'm doing this 24-hour read, just get a couple reviews, a couple of books under myself, because if I kind of have, it's really slowed me down. And my TBR, as y'all saw in my video, well, I don't think that y'all saw my TBR video yet, but if you've been on Instagram, as you see, I have far longer TBR than I usually do. And I kind of got to move through it. We got to move through it. So thanks again for watching. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. Please subscribe if you are not. Again, we got 2 more weeks of the readathon. So that means that there will be more videos coming. If you're not following, like, if you're not a part of the Discord, there's so much going on over there. We're talking about books and we're talking about movies. We're having the watch parties. It's a lot of fun and really, really great. I really have been enjoying it. Patreon. Yeah, go check that out. I have rewards, monthly rewards. My patrons are going to get a special reward this month in addition to their usual reward of the bookmark. And I have some videos planned and edited that will be dropping over there that will be exclusive to Patreon. So check me out over there. I have so many things going on, y'all. Just check out the description box. Just check that out down below. I will see you on the next one. Thank y'all again for watching. Bye.